Okay, good afternoon. I think we have everyone on board. We're going to go ahead and get started. FirstNet Authority Board Chair Mike Atkinson, we're going to go ahead and convene our special virtual combined board and finance investment committee meeting. The topic of discussion today is the FirstNet Authority's proposed fiscal year 2027 budget by the board's finance and investment committee and the full board. We'll begin with the introduction of our four new board members recently appointed by Secretary of Commerce, Secretary Lutnick, and then we proceed with review on votes for the proposed 27 budget. Madam Board Secretary, if you will call the roll for board and confirm that each committee has a quorum.
Okay, thank you, Sheriff. I'll mark you as present. Mary Boyd.
Yes, ma'am, present.
Okay. Damon Darcy.
Present.
Thank you. Alexandra Fernandez Navarro.
Present.
Stu Levenbach. Back to Stu. Sean McDevitt.
Present.
Warren Mickens.
Here.
Jeff Norman.
Present.
Jeff Robertson.
Present.
Alan Proethus.
Present.
Rashid Scarlett.
Present.
Jeff Streeter.
Present.
Tricia Wolford. Okay, Mr. Chair, we do have a quorum for the board as well as for all four committees. Now I will read the conflict statement. Prior to participating in the FirstNet Authority Combined Board and Committees meeting today, the board members have reviewed the agenda as well as the conflict of interest guidance provided by the Ethics Law and Program Division of the Department of Commerce Office of General Counsel regarding the conflict of interest standards that apply to the board members. All board members have responded prior to today's meeting that they do not have a conflict and will not need to recuse themselves from participation in any portion of this meeting. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Madam Secretary. Now, each board member has before you the minutes from our June meeting. Are there any additions or corrections that need to be added to those minutes? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion that we accept these minutes. Do I have a motion to accept these minutes?
So moved. This is Warren Mickens.
Very good. Second.
Hey, Board Member Damon Darcy, second that motion.
All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, sign saying nay. Any abstentions? If not, the June minutes are accepted. Madam Secretary, please take the minutes available to the public following the meeting. We're going to take a moment for our new board members to introduce themselves. Mary, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Thank you, sir. Mary Boyd. I am mayor for the city of Comanche in Texas, and I also have a very extensive background in public safety and technology.
Outstanding. Welcome aboard, Alan.
Thank you, Sheriff. I'm Alan Proethus, CEO of Capstone Partners, and I advise clients on applying advanced communication networks to IoT, edge computing, AI, and autonomous technologies. I've been in technology leadership for over 3 decades across large public companies like HP and Air Digital, and as well as with venture and PE-backed businesses. And most recently, I was CEO of GXC, a private 5G provider backed by Intel and In-Q-Tel.
Outstanding. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Jeff Robertson, sorry. Double Jeffs.
Thank you, Sheriff. Jeff Robertson. I'm the president and CEO of a company called Illyrium. I've been in the public safety technology and emergency response technology business for the last 26 years. Prior to that, I was in law enforcement, both at the municipal level and at the sheriff level. Just a pleasure to be here, and wanted to thank the chairman and my fellow board members and the management team at FirstNet for the warm welcome. It's been a great start.
Outstanding. Welcome aboard, Jeff. Mr. Jeff Streeter.
Thank you, Sheriff. Yes, Jeff Streeter. I'm coming up on nearing 41 and a half years public safety work, 32 years in law enforcement, retired as a chief of police, For the last 9 years, I've been putting together, standing up, and running a large communication center here in the Denver metro area, consisting of 30 agencies, police, fire, and EMS. Primary backgrounds, law enforcement. Last 9 years have been drinking from a fire hose trying to stand that up. But Sheriff, very honored to be part of this board, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. So at this point, what I'd like to do is turn it over to the chair of the Finance Investment Committee, Sean McDevitt, for an overview of the proposed 27 budget and vote on our Finance Investment Committee Resolution 39, which is the recommendation of fiscal year 27 budget. Sean?
Thank you very much, Chairman Atkinson. This is an important budget for the FirstNet Authority, for the first responders we serve, and for the American communities they protect every day. For fiscal year 2027, the FirstNet Authority expects to have approximately $1.22 billion in available resources. These funds reflect a combination of contractual fee payments from AT&T, as well as funds carried forward from fiscal year 2026 because actual obligations came in below budget, together with normal near-end reconciliation. This budget will support the largest annual network investment since the initial task orders began rolling out the network in 2018, following the 2017 contract award. We are proposing to allocate those resources across 3 areas. First, $90.2 million for FirstNet Authority operations. That represents a 2.4% increase over the fiscal year 2026 operating budget. Putting that in context, while the authority's overall resources are increasing by more than 40% year over year, our operating budget is increasing by just 2.4%. This is a measured increase focused on several specific priorities. As the scale of FirstNet's investments grow, so does the board's responsibility to exercise independent judgment, ask hard questions, and ensure that the authority has the people, data, and capabilities necessary to protect our public safety mission. That's why this budget strengthens our oversight of the network contract performance, responds directly to OIG findings by improving our ability to independently validate network performance, and adds targeted capabilities where this board believes they are necessary. Our responsibility is to hold ourselves and our network partner accountable for performance and for the obligations established in the contract. This budget also accelerates coverage enhancement workshops across all 56 states, territories, and the District of Columbia. It advances our enterprise data and analytics capabilities so that we can make better, increasingly data-driven decisions. And it provides for targeted staff additions to ensure that we have the expertise and capacity to engage with and respond and represent the needs of the full range of all first responder disciplines across every FEMA region. In developing the fiscal year 2027 request, the Finance and Investment Committee, the full board, and management looked closely not only at the fiscal year 2026 approved budget, but also at actual execution, current requirements, and the initiatives carrying into the coming year. That work gives us confidence that this operating budget is disciplined, appropriately sized, and focused on what the authority needs to do its job effectively. Second, we are proposing $45.1 million for the operational contingency reserve, maintaining a reserve at 50% of our operating budget. This board continues to believe, as prior boards have, that prudent stewardship requires an appropriate reserve. It gives the authority flexibility and optionality in the event of unforeseen needs, while protecting our ability to meet our long-term responsibilities. Third, and the largest and most important component of this budget, we are proposing nearly $1.1 billion for reinvestment in the network. That means that nearly 90% of the resources available to the authority in fiscal year 2027 will be directed toward investment in the network. This budget is about getting more mission value from every dollar available to the authority. Even as the resources available for the mission have grown dramatically, the cost of operating the authority will be well under 10% of the total budget. That reflects the commitment of this board and the management team to exercise prudent oversight and stewardship of the resources entrusted to us, while working in coordination with our colleagues at NTIA and the Department of Commerce. We are maintaining the capabilities required to operate the network authority while directing the overwhelming majority of available resources back into the network as contemplated by the founding statute. That is exactly what Congress designed the FirstNet model to do. Congress created a dedicated authority and a board that brings together public safety, government, and private sector expertise, and charged the authority and that board with exercising independent judgment about how to best advance the public safety mission. The strength of that model is that no single institution or stakeholder owns the mission. The board's responsibility is to weigh all those perspectives and make the judgment based on one standard and one standard only: what best serves public safety. That model blends private sector expertise, innovation, investment, and scale with public accountability, and most importantly, the direct voice of public safety. The nearly $1.1 billion proposed for network investment gives us the ability to continue advancing our coverage, capabilities, resilience, and innovation without requiring the authority itself to grow at the same rate as the investments we oversee. To understand why that model matters, it's worth remembering where it started. It's been nearly 25 years since 9/11 set this effort in motion. More than 14 years since Congress created FirstNet, and almost a decade since we entered into the partnership that began turning that vision into a nationwide network. We have come a long way. Together, we've achieved something that many once questioned could be done. We have built a truly nationwide public safety broadband network with priority and preemption for first responders across all of the network spectrum bands. We have helped drive the development of an entire ecosystem of public safety devices, applications, and capabilities. And we have brought forward dynamic deployable network assets and other capabilities that would have been difficult to imagine only a few years ago. But they are not the finish line. We now have an opportunity to drive coverage even farther into rural, remote, tribal, and other areas where first responders tell us they need it most, to strengthen resiliency and redundancy, and to take advantage of capabilities that simply were not possible when FirstNet was created. With the recent launch of the dedicated 5G standalone core, let's think about the kind of capabilities that platform now increasingly can enable in the field. An officer securely transmitting live, high-definition video from a body-worn camera. A search and rescue team using drones to give incident command real-time view of conditions responders cannot safely reach. Firefighters and hazardous materials teams drawing information from connected sensors as conditions change around them. Or an EMS team using high-speed connectivity to share critical information with physicians before a patient ever reaches the hospital. Those are some examples of the kinds of capabilities we now have the opportunity to further enable and expand, So this next generation of FirstNet is not simply about a faster network. It is about giving first responders better information, greater situational awareness, and new tools to make decisions when seconds matter. As we consider the proposed fiscal year 2027 budget, I would like to highlight two things. First, the opportunity before us continues to grow. The fundamental FirstNet model has delivered tremendous results. Our responsibility now is to strengthen its execution, oversight, and accountability while preserving the qualities that have made the model successful. We now have both the resources and the responsibility to build on that success and to prepare the next generation of the network as Congress considers the next chapter of FirstNet and the framework that will govern it for years to come. As it does, I believe the record before us demonstrates the value of preserving a model that keeps public safety at the center of the decision-making process. Second, we remain disciplined in how we operate the authority itself. Our resources for the mission are growing by more than 40%, while the cost of operating the authority is growing by just 2.4%. Ambitious investment and disciplined operations are not competing objectives. Done properly, disciplined operations create more resources for the mission. I'm confident that I speak on behalf of the Finance and Investment Committee, the full board, and the management team when I say that this balance of ambitious investment, disciplined operations, and strong independent oversights represents responsible stewardship. It is what the FirstNet model was designed to produce. It keeps public safety at the center of the decisions we make, and it positions us to continue to deliver for first responders and for the American communities we serve. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before we vote, let me open the floor for any Finance and Investment Committee members who may have questions about the proposed resolution. Hearing none, we're prepared to vote on the Finance and Investment Committee Resolution 39. Madam Secretary, would you please read the operative language?
Certainly. Now therefore be it resolved that the Finance and Investment Committee hereby recommends that the FirstNet Authority Board approve the FirstNet Authority's fiscal year 2027 budget of $1,219,943,999 for the three major funding categories of FirstNet Authority operations, operational contingency reserve, and reinvestment in network enhancement fund. Be it further resolved that the Finance and Investment Committee recommends that the board approve the fiscal year 2027 FirstNet Authority operations budget of $90,182,808 on an obligations basis, plus with advance notice to the board, up to a 10% management reallocation allowance from the operational contingency reserve in the event of unplanned and extraordinary circumstances. Operational contingency reserve allocation of $45,091,404, an amount equal to 50% of the FirstNet Authority operations budget for fiscal year 2027, and reinvestment in network enhancement fund allocation of $1,084,669,787. Should the FirstNet Authority receive any additional resources of income in fiscal year 2027, including fiscal year 2026 reconciliations and fees payment, they will be added to the reinvestment in network enhancement fund. Be it further resolved that the Finance and Investment Committee recommends that the board authorize the FirstNet Authority to enter into the necessary agreements to meet fiscal year 2027 strategic objectives. Be it further resolved that the Finance and Investment Committee recommends that the board authorize the FirstNet Authority to take all actions necessary to execute existing nationwide public safety broadband network task orders. Be it further resolved that if the FirstNet Authority has a combined total of more or less than $1,219,943,999 available funds on an obligations basis in the FirstNet Authority accounts in fiscal year 2027, then the amount allocated to the Reinvestment and Network Enhancement Fund will be increased or decreased to reflect the difference. And be it further resolved that the Finance and Investment Committee recommends that the board authorize the FirstNet Authority to reallocate with advance notice to the board up to a 10% management allowance, up to an aggregate of $9,018,280 from the Operational Contingency Reserve in the event of unplanned and extraordinary circumstances. This 10% management allowance may be apportioned commensurate with the $90,182,808 FirstNet Authority operations budget for availability at the beginning of fiscal year 2027. Back to you, Sean.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. May I have a motion to approve the Finance and Investment Committee Resolution 39 from a Finance and Investment Committee member, please?
Motion to approve. This is Chairman Scarlett for our board members today.
And may I get a second, please?
This is Warren Mickens, second motion.
Thank you. All finance and investment.
Actually, a point of reference, we need to have Stu Levenbach as a member of the Finance and Investment Committee second that motion. Stu, are you able to come off of mute? I believe *6 on your phone to come off of mute.
Hopefully people can hear me. I can second it.
Okay, yes, we hear you, Stu. Thank you.
Thank you, Stu. All Finance and Investment Committee members in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed indicate by saying nay. Noting there are no abstentions, the resolution is now adopted. Madam Secretary, please make the resolution available to the public following this meeting. This concludes the Finance and Investment Committee's business for today, and I turn the floor back to you, Chairman Atkinson.
Sean, thank you and the Finance Committee for the amount of work you guys have done on this, and we appreciate all your diligence and hard work in preparing this for the full board's consideration, and that is what we're going to do now. So the board is now prepared to move forward with consideration of the proposed fiscal year 2027 budget. The FirstNet Authority proposed to allocate $1,219,943,999 billion in fiscal year 2027 resources into three funding categories: $90,182,808 million in operations on an obligation basis, $45,091,404 in operational contingency reserves, equal to 50% of fiscal year 2027 operations budget, and the $1,084,669,787 in reinvestment of the Network Enhancement Fund on an obligation basis. Before we vote, do any board members have any questions about the proposed resolution? Hearing none, we are prepared to vote on Board Resolution 122. Madam Secretary, would you please read the operative language?
Certainly. Now therefore be it resolved that the board hereby approves a fiscal year 2027 budget of $1,219,943,999 for the three major funding categories of FirstNet Authority operations, Operational Contingency Reserve, and Reinvestment and Network Enhancement Fund. Be it further resolved that the board approves allocation of the fiscal year 2027 budget as follows: FirstNet Authority operations budget of $90,182,808 on an obligations basis, plus with advance notice to the board, up to a 10% management reallocation allowance from the Operational Contingency Reserve allocation in the event of unplanned and extraordinary circumstances. Operational Contingency Reserve allocation of $45,091,404, an amount equal to 50% of the operations budget for fiscal year 2027, and Reinvestment in Network Enhancement Fund allocation of $1,084,669,787. Should the FirstNet Authority receive any additional sources of income in fiscal year 2027, including fiscal year 2026 reconciliations and fees payment, they will be added to the Reinvestment in Network Enhancement Fund. Be it further resolved that the board authorizes senior leadership to enter into the necessary agreements to meet fiscal year 2027 strategic objectives consistent with Board Resolutions 78 and 100. Be it further resolved that the board authorizes senior leadership to take all actions necessary to execute existing nationwide public safety broadband network task orders. Be it further resolved that if the FirstNet Authority has a combined total of more or less than $1,219,943,999 available funds on an obligations basis in the FirstNet Authority accounts in fiscal year 2027, then senior management will add or deduct the amount more or less than $1,219,943,999 from the Reinvestment in Network Enhancement Fund funding category. And be it further resolved that the board authorizes senior leadership to reallocate with advance notice to the board up to a 10% management allowance up to an aggregate of $9,018,280 from the Operational Contingency Reserve in the event of unplanned and extraordinary circumstances. This 10% management allowance may be apportioned commensurate with the $90,182,808 FirstNet Authority operations budget for availability at the beginning of fiscal year 2027. Back to you, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. May I have a motion to approve Board Resolution 122, please?
Excuse me, this is Warren Mickens. I move that we approve the board resolution.
Have a motion, need a second?
This is Jeff Robertson. I second.
Okay, I have a motion now, of a second, Alexander Fernandez Navarro. Thank you all. Can in favor say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay, or any abstentions? So this resolution is adopted. Madam Secretary, please make the resolution available to the public following the meeting. Today's resolution is an important step toward the continued success of the network and advancing our mission for public safety. Now I'm going to ask Executive Director Mike Cannon and see to share any closing comments. Director Cannon.
Thank you, Chairman Atkinson. The FirstNet Authority remains committed to serving public safety across the country and enhancing and expanding the network for them while meeting our statutory requirements. This budget sets up the FirstNet Authority for success in the coming year, enabling critical work in the areas of public safety advocacy, investments, and other key priorities. Thank you to the board for your careful consideration and approval of this budget, which demonstrates our commitment to strong financial management and fiscal responsibility. Back to you, Chairman Atkinson.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mike, for all that. And may I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Board Member Jeff Norman, I move to adjourn.
Can I get a second?
Board Member Fernandez Navarro, I second the motion.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. After that, thank you everyone for participating. We appreciate you and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.